And what we must learn about ourselves is, what is that gift? Because we're here to create a ripple effect for the human race. That's what I truly believe. Every single human being has a gift, and we must learn or tune in to find out what that is. But when you say I've really manifested a beautiful life, everybody can manifest a beautiful life. But it's about, again, being aware of your energy, being intentional, and looking at your life and going, am I happy? Am I truly, truly happy?
Welcome to Hey Soul Sista, the podcast for women ready to embrace greater joy, freedom, and a soulful life. And if you enjoyed this episode, please remember to subscribe, follow, like, and share. Hey, my guest today is Jackie Gillies, Australia's most sought-after psychic medium. I love Jackie, and many of you will also know Jackie from the Real Housewives of Melbourne, I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, and The Amazing Race, which she did with her hubby Ben Gillies. But beyond television, Jackie's journey is deeply rooted in intuition, spiritual awakening, and transformation. Through that expertise, she's become a respected thought leader in the personal development and motivational space. And she's now evolved into a successful $1 million businesswoman and the creator of TransformU. In this episode, we talk about what it really means to trust your intuition, to own your own psychic gifts, and to evolve, even when the world is watching. Jackie shares her personal awakening, how that journey led her to create TransformU, and the work she does now supporting women to reconnect with their inner guidance and step into their true power. I've had Jackie speak at one of my women's events last year at the Sister Code Luncheon. She had everybody transfixed, and I think everybody walked away feeling empowered, feeling excited about what they can achieve in the world. So I'm excited to have her on Hey Soul Sista today. Hey, Jackie, welcome back to Hey Soul Sista.
Oh my God, I'm loving the setup, and thank you again for having me, because the first time I did this with you, I think I was your first guest.
You were the very first person I ever interviewed, and I think it was about August 2019, and I was so nervous.
You were nervous, and I was like, you were like shaking, and it wasn't about me. I think it was just the whole collectiveness of doing this for the first time and going out of your comfort zone, right?
Yeah, I had never podcasted before, and Mel Sarge organised for you to be my first guest.
I remember when I walked in, I was like, hey. You were like, oh. And then by the end, you were like, thank goodness you were my first guest, but you did amazing. I always say there is no such thing as coincidences, and it's amazing that I was your first guest and I'm back again.
I know. And you know what I loved about that day was you walked in and you were kind of getting ready, putting the cans on, and you said to me, what's going on? What's going on here? There's a lot of nervous energy. What's going on? And I said, you're the first person on my first podcast ever I'm recording. You're like, oh, okay. Yeah. I was obviously giving off that energy.
Yeah, you were. But I it's when I go into that zone, or when I'm always picking up vibration and frequency, I just talk whatever I'm feeling. It's energy exchange. But I think it was that, and I think this really will lean into something great with this conversation, is that you stepping out of your comfort zone, but stepping into the comfort of, or purpose rather, that I believe you're meant to be doing.
Well, and it's funny because I stopped podcasting for about 2 years and restarted this year. My first episode that I released was in July, but actually I'd had a reading with you. I think it was at the beginning of the year, and you said to me, you need to start podcasting again.
Did I?
Yes.
I love getting feedback from people when I give them psychic medium readings, because a lot of people don't realize that when I give a psychic medium reading, I don't remember what I say. I'm just the vessel. Yeah. And when I tune into your energy and your vibration, I'm just the vessel, and whatever information I'm receiving or getting at that moment, articulating that out as quick as I can. And I just don't remember, but it's beautiful to hear that. So I do remember when I was doing the keynote speaking gig with you guys, that you had said I had said something to you, and I said on the microphone that I don't remember. It was about spirit, or there was a spirit.
Yes, I'm going to tell this story. I love this story. Yes. So I had been in Italy. It was back in 2018 for a friend's 50th. She had hired a Tuscan villa. You were in Tuscany. And one night I went to sleep. It was a one night I wasn't drunk. I went to bed about midnight, fell asleep, woke up about 3 a.m. I was in a tiny room on my own. And I woke at 3 a.m. and I was just lying there awake. And I felt a presence lie down beside me on the bed and start patting me on the back. And I absolutely went into a panic. Like, I was in a single bed too. So, and it wasn't a person. It was somebody lay down beside me. So
It was energy.
me on the back. It was, yes. And next thing I had an out-of-body experience. Literally, I came out of my body and there was an old man and he was kind of bald with like the hair, you know, like around a crown around his head. And there were no eyeballs. Like, there was just like dark where the eyeballs were. And I went into, like, okay, we had been teaching self-defense. I got you back, sister. And so in this out-of-body experience, I grabbed him by the head and I said, get off me. Because I felt really kind of like violated. Yes. And then next thing I was back lying in my body again, lying on the bed, going, what the hell just happened? And I lay there, I turned on the light and I lay there awake until 5 a.m. I texted my friend saying, please come in as soon as you wake up. And then one of my girlfriends, Belinda, came in and she's like, what happened? And I said, and I told her all about it. And she didn't, I don't think she really believed me. She just went, okay, and went back to bed. But then
what did I say?
You said to me, it was amazing. You said to me that the man's name was Antonio.
Yeah.
And that I reminded him of his wife and he was sorry that he had scared me.
That's beautiful. And I bet you when I did the psychic medium reading, obviously I didn't know any of that information. And did I just bring it in when you came for a reading? You
were like, there's somebody here, there's a man here. There's a man here. It's what happened in Italy.
And you just didn't tell anyone, you just like wigged out. This is the really interesting thing about energy, is that when you said, people didn't really, I don't know if my friend really believed me. The thing is this, right, is that it's been studied that we're all energy. So if you take the psychic stuff away for a minute and you're talking about, you're compartmentalizing, you're talking about your out-of-body experience, energy expands, right? Energy cannot be destroyed. It can only be transmuted or transferred. So a lot of the time, what people need to understand is, and I teach this in TransformU, is that when you feel something, you will feel it in your intuition first before it hits your brain. So as soon as you walk into something or you're feeling a situation that's taking place, you feel it here in your intuition, right? And then when you come back to your mind, you go, did that really actually happen? Even though it happened, you felt it happen, you felt the presence and you felt the energy. And so one thing that's really, so I look at this in two ways for you. You're able to connect with the other side, fundamentally.
I've had a few spooky experiences. That was the spookiest.
Yeah.
Sorry, but keep going. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you're able to connect. But the second thing is that I'm a believer, and I've been doing this for over 24 years, psychic medium readings, is that we're all energy. We all have energy. We all take on energy exchange. So wherever I am, like I'll walk in here already and I'm already picking up energy and I'm already picking up situations and events, but I know how to block it out. So I don't allow it to overcome me. Otherwise I'd be overwhelmed and probably have a breakdown if I didn't know how to set those boundaries. However, I think that with your experience is that was an opening to say that you should tune in to your intuition more and really listen to that, because that guides you to your purpose, right? And so I know you're wigging out and going, oh my God, but I always believe that you're never given something that you can't handle. And even though that experience wigged you out and you came out, you had an out-of-body experience. And a lot of people have that, especially when they're in their theta state, when they're in their dream state and they're in their dream state and they know that they're in their dream. Have you ever felt that?
Yes.
I felt that energy, right? You know you're in your dream and you're maneuvering yourself energetically within the dream, which I've become really good at, by the way. And you feel and you know what's going on. And then sometimes when you enter back into your physical body, it's like a pop, like if you feel like a jolt and you're like, oh my God, it's just, but we're energy. So that's how you explain it. But in saying that, you said you had a few more experiences, so I'd be interested to know about that. What were some of the other experiences?
So I had another experience. I was living in Broome at the time in WA, and I was doing uni. My ex-husband was a pearl diver, so I was over there studying while he was sailing. Yeah. So it was 6 o'clock at night, and I know it was 6 o'clock because the 6 o'clock news came on, and I was writing an essay, and I looked across the table and all of a sudden a white mist formed in front of me, in the chair in front of me. And I just stood there. I'm sorry, I was sitting, not standing. And I was looking at this mist forming and I was like, holy crap, what is that in front of me? And I was just transfixed. And
I love it.
It was there. And then it went again. And then I remember thinking, don't act freaked out. Don't act freaked out. Don't act freaked out. I got up and went and sat down on the lounge and just kind of watched the TV thinking, don't let whatever it was think you were scared. I don't know what it was.
I believe what was happening to you, so this is why I asked about the second experience, is that everybody, listen, and we'll talk about this with some of the questions or whatever questions you have moving forward, but everybody has what I have. Everybody has psychic abilities. We just kind of use it as a word, but I don't like that word, even though I use it. We're all energy. So I believe you are receiving messages and you're tuning into a vibration, a frequency where people want to come through and give you messages like Antonio, like this experience, like other experiences that you've felt over the years. But because you don't know how to ground yourself to be able to tune in and receive those messages, even though we can all do it, what happens is your body starts going to fight or flight mode, right?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. So with that, then you're coming from a space of fear instead of a space of, okay, we're all energy. What does this thing want? How does it feel? What is the message that it wants to give me? And so when you can lean into that, and I think what's really beautiful is that they've come so clearly. So you very much see, very much so, but you're blocking it out.
You're right, because it scares me. And I'm just going to tell you about one more experience because I'd like the people who are listening to hear this as well, because this was an actual message.
Yeah.
So it was about 10 years ago and I was doing a lot of meditating at the time because I had been feeling like I've always been probably when I was a little girl quite an anxious child and had the anxiety. And so I was doing a lot of meditation. And one morning it was about 6:30 in the morning. My husband had gotten out of bed. He was in the shower and I was in the half awake, half asleep state.
Yeah.
All of a sudden I heard an old woman's voice in my head. And I'm going to exchange out the name that she gave me. Okay. So I'm not revealing who that person was. And it was an old lady's voice. And she said to me, "Excuse me, doll, can you tell me, is Danny still being taunted by that boy?" And I was awake, like, because I'd been in the half awake, half asleep state. And next thing, boom, I was awake. I'm like, what the hell was that? It was clear as day, an old lady's voice. And I thought, oh my goodness, I have to call my friend. What's this all about? And my friend was traveling for work and it was actually a month before we connected. And we went to McDonald's at Charlestown one morning for a coffee because there was, for some reason, that lined up. And I said to her, I need to tell you something. I had this message and I said, I'm not too sure what it means, but I just want you to know it was an old lady's voice. And this is what she said. Anyway, my friend told me that she was in an abusive relationship, that she was thinking about leaving her husband. She had realised how abusive that he was to her, and had been their entire married life, but she had suppressed it. Didn't want anybody to know, had the guilt and shame around that. And she was kind of astounded and she said to me, I bet that was the voice of my grandmother. She said she always felt that her grandmother was watching over her. And it was crazy. It was crazy because when I spoke to her, it literally lined up with this message. Yeah.
Listen, this is what I love sharing about energy, is that when you're in your dream state, we go into different vibrations, different frequencies. So what we're doing is we're entering into those different vibrations or consciousnesses, as I like to say, and you are literally going to the consciousness of that person. Now, my belief, this is my belief in all the years I've been doing my psychic medium readings for, and really learning how energy works within myself and how energy exchange works, is that we are all one. We're just expressions of one consciousness. So you are a version of me. When I look at you, a mirror image, as your friend is, as your friend. People that come into your life for seasons and reasons, because we must elevate, and the soul must keep going and going until it becomes or expresses itself as the highest version of who you are. There's a little goosebumps you just got down your legs then. Your grandmother is here, by the way. As I'm talking to you, I can see her standing.
I'm getting goosebumps now.
Yes, I know. I could feel it because she's entering in. But the thing about this is is that I want people to understand that just because you, as people say, pass away, doesn't mean you go to nowhere. You go to a different vibration, and we can tune into that. There's so many studies that are happening now. And I've been saying this for years, and people used to go, oh, the woo-woo stuff. Oh, Jackie, talking about energy manifestation. Everything in my life I have manifested, from Ben to abundance to being a psychic medium to the TV shows to every single thing that I have manifested.
Your boys.
My boys, I said it was season 1 and season 3 of The Real Housewives of Melbourne. Well, this is even years before I even thought about having children, but I received the message from my grandmother. But what I'm trying to say is the message that you were receiving is you were tuning into a message that was meant to come for your friend, but she wasn't open to it. So her grandmother came through you in that dream state that we all have. And most of the time, those messages will come in your dream state because you are grounded. You're not in a fear-based belief system.
Yeah, you're right. And because I remember I was kind of just floating in that, that in between.
Yes, in between state between being asleep and being awake. And that is, when I do a meditation and when I'm doing readings, that is the state that I'm always in when I'm giving a psychic medium reading, because I'm detaching from the physicality of who we are, because that's not who we are. We are a soul in a physical body.
So if I wanted to grow that and get over my fear, what can I do?
100%. The first thing is you need to be intentional. You need to meditate, and you've got to learn how to regulate your nervous system. Because so many people that I've come across over the years with TransformU and doing readings is that is one of the biggest blocks, I believe, probably for probably 98% of human beings. Because what happens is our conditioning, or the way we're conditioned from our childhood, we bring that expression and it weaves through in and out of our lives. And unless you can understand and become consciously aware, conscious awareness of your thoughts and your triggers, and if you're still angry about something that has happened in your life, then that can all be blockages. So how do you open up to it? Being intentional, doing meditation. And this is something that a lot of people don't like to hear, is that you have to take accountability for your life.
I love that.
No, you do. And when you do that, what happens is your energy starts expanding to the truest, authentic self, or the version of who you're meant to be. But when we stay in a state of comfortability, what it does is it stops us from being, like us personally, from being able to expand into purpose. So there's a lot of elements to it, but you can start with meditation and asking the universe for signs and priming your mind to actually see the positives, or see the signs, or see the messages that the other side wants to give you. But you have to be intentional about that.
You know, when you spoke at the Sister Code Luncheon, which was in August this year, 250 women, that was
beautiful. You were such a blessing. You bring so much love and inspiration to people's lives, Mel.
Well, that's very kind of you to say. But at that event, thank you. But at that event, you were amazing at that event. The feedback that I got afterwards, number one, the tickets sold out like that, which was really cool. I put the ticket link up on social media, on Facebook, on a Monday night, and boom, it was sold out by the next morning. Yeah. And I got so much beautiful feedback about you and your talk, your presentation. Actually, no, you were going to do a presentation, and then you just went, you just spoke. You just spoke from the heart, and you brought everybody along with you. But I remember one thing that you talked about, which really resonated with me, and a number of women came up to speak to me about it afterwards, was you were talking about that. You were talking about the importance of doing the inner work and being accountable for your life. Such an important message.
It is an important message because I know what it feels like to be at your darkest, deepest despair. I've shared a bit of it in my book, Shine Up, that I wrote many years ago, which I manifested as well. But I was once in a relationship that was very controlling many years ago, and I got to my deepest, darkest despair where I completely had lost myself. And I believe me going through that relationship was the opening of me doing what I do today. You know, I was in a relationship where I was controlled, isolated from my friends. I would have to ask for permission to go out. It was very, very controlling. And it wasn't until I was laying on my bed and I was crying and I said to God, why is this happening to me? I was always the good girl, the good Croatian girl. Listened to mum, listened to dad, did everything with the right intent, was a good friend to all my friends, was loyal, loving to that particular person. And that is when I saw an angel, and it spoke to me telepathically, but it spoke within me. It was like one voice. And it was almost like if somebody had touched me, I wouldn't have felt the angel. It was like I was surrounded by this love. I can't even articulate it. It's like a mother's hug, but it was 1,000 more of those hugs. It was this unconditional love. It was like I was home and I was bawling my eyes out. And then I saw a vision of every time this person ever cheated on me. When I was asking God why, a vision of every single time, who with, where, even a particular person that I knew. And I went to that person the next day and I said, I know everything you've ever done. It was like that's when my intuition just opened back up. I asked, I was at my deepest, darkest despair, and I listened. And so the next day when I asked this person, the first thing he had said is, what friend of mine told you? Because it was like I was looking at a movie theatre, like literally a movie theatre. And so coming back to the inner work, it was that moment. It took me a while, like it took me a good year because I was reading, but I didn't know what depression was then. I never thought I had depression. There were, I'd have these random thoughts in my head, when I was going through this, experiencing this relationship. But I realized that this relationship was abusive. But what I realized more is I enabled it. And I had to take my power back. I was not going to be a victim to that situation, even though I thought what I was experiencing was normal because it was my first relationship, right? And, the classic, as soon as the relationship broke down, she's crazy, she's on drugs. Oh, my God, she's speaking to spirit world. Then the whole, story and the narrative goes around to all these people. This is what Jackie is. But within this relationship, it was really interesting because he would say things like, I was born under a star. You're never going to be better than me. But now I understand why he was doing that because of his own insecurities. And women that are listening, this is why I created TransformU. You know when somebody is not telling you the truth. You know it, you feel it, and you're aware of it. But what happens is your self-worth is so far down, you don't know how to get out of it. And I was ashamed to actually tell people what I was experiencing because I'm a strong, confident woman.
Yeah.
And I was always like that until I entered into this relationship. And then, but it started slowly. Started like, it was very charismatic in the beginning, la, 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 la. And then it was like, if I wore a short skirt, get that off before we go out. Like it was really very much emotionally abusive. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that because there will be a lot of women that will resonate with that because sadly it's more common than we realise.
100%.
Yeah.
But we're ashamed. But the shame is what stops people from taking accountability. So I want to answer that question for a minute because I think that a lot of people really resonate with this too, is that when I said to myself, if I had married this person, it would have ended up in divorce. I would have divorced him 100%. But I would have been sitting behind a kitchen, cooking and cleaning. I would have no friends. But it was almost like the universe made this mess happen, as I thought it was, to go, we need you, to the highest version of myself and God that I would pray to every day. I'm not religious, but I believe in God as one consciousness. And God was answering my prayers in that moment. And when I saw that vision, what are you going to do with this, Jackie? You know how many times I give people readings and I give them the absolute situations that aren't Googleable or that it's completely spot on. Okay, you want to hear, does the other side hear you? Just like you have those experiences? Yes, they hear. So we're going to give this to you, and what are you going to do with that? Are you going to change your life? So it was that moment I went, it's either fucking fight or flight, man, and I ain't sitting in this situation any longer. So I started doing the inner work. And when I started doing the inner work, I mean, I could sit here for hours, but we don't have all that time. But when it came for me and I walked to Angels in the Lake and I was just guided to this bookshop at Warners Bay. And a book fell out in front of me like somebody had pulled it out. And the book was Divine Guidance by Doreen Virtue.
Oh, I love her angel cards.
I used to use all of her angel cards.
Yeah.
All of it.
And you know what's cool? is
me
that
everything.
I remember, and this is a long time ago, I reckon 16 years ago, maybe longer, maybe I remember hearing about this amazing psychic called Jackie at Angels on the Lake. My girlfriend Brooke, I remember catching up with my girlfriend Brooke for a coffee, and she said, "Oh my goodness, I went and had a reading with this girl Jackie at Angels on the Lake. It's the best psychic reading I've ever had." And then my next door neighbor said the same thing. She said, "I went and saw a psychic Jackie at Angels on the Lake. Best psychic reading I've ever had." And then I find it hilarious that years later I find out it's you. You're the Jackie.
Yeah. You know, if somebody had said to me, Jackie, you're going to be a psychic and work with energy and help people become the best version of who they are, I would have laughed and went, no, man, I was working in corporate banking. But all these situations had to happen in my life to get there. And when I started my first psychic medium reading, I'll never forget it, the lady at the shop would ask me. So I walked into the shop and I got the book, and then I started, when I talk about the inner work, I started reading everything about self-development, subconscious mind, manifestation, learning why we do what we do, kind of psychology, things about the power of your subconscious mind, Dr. Joseph Murphy, Course in Miracles. You give me a book, I probably read it. Yeah. So deep dive for a good 2 years of reading, to the point that for a good 6 months, I wouldn't go out. I would read probably 5 books a week. I'd just bang it out, because I was like absorbing all of this information, and then I was automatic writing and I was journaling and doing the inner work. And I started learning that I created this. I created this mess, and I need to understand why I created this mess. And so when I started understanding the why, instead of looking at why is this happening to me, why am I doing this to myself? And so one day the lady, I started giving her these random messages. I don't even remember what I said. And it was so spot on. She goes, how do you know what my father's name is? How do you know what my brother's name is? How do you know how they died? This is not something. I don't know these people from TransformU. She goes, will you be a psychic medium at this shop? I said, no way in the world. No, fuck no, I'm not going to be a psychic. No. And then I went back to the shop, and then she asked again. I said no. And the third time she asked, something came out of my mouth and I said yes. And I did my first reading. I was still working in the bank. Did my first reading. I was booked out for 1 week, and then 4 weeks, and 1 month, and 6 months, and 1 year, then 2 years, and 3 years. And that was all because I stepped into purpose. That was all because I took accountability. That was all because of doing the inner work. But if somebody had said to me when I was at my deepest, darkest despair that you have to do this work in order to really tune back into your power, because you cannot make anybody else happy but yourself. Your best relationship you can have is with yourself. And I say this time and time, you can't even make your children happy. You give them the tools to be the most epic human being in the world. But when they get to, say, 25 or 26, they have to have the confidence to know and love and really appreciate who they are.
Well, you have manifested an amazing life. I'm really happy for you.
Thank you.
It's actually really beautiful to see. I remember you telling me about how you manifested your soulmate, your lovely husband.
I did.
Yes. I love that you have created a beautiful life, but it's such an important life of purpose, in that you really are educating, supporting, sharing with other women, predominantly women and men too, but predominantly women, through your TransformU and your psychic readings. And of course, you went from Jackie from Angels on the Lake to Australia's most sought after psychic. I've had a couple of psychic readings. Actually, I think I've had 3 psychic readings with you now. And they are, yes. And they, over the years, and they are amazing.
Thank you. I think, Mel, that everyone has a purpose and a gift. And what we must learn about ourselves is, what is that gift? Because we're here to create a ripple effect for the human race. That's what I truly believe. Every single human being has a gift, and we must learn or tune in to find out what that is. But when you say I've really manifested a beautiful life, everybody can manifest a beautiful life. But it's about, again, being aware of your energy, being intentional, and looking at your life and going, am I happy? Am I truly, truly happy? And a lot of people don't like doing that, and because it's scary. And it's uncomfortable. And when you start doing that, you've actually got to then talk to yourself and go, am I happy in this relationship? Am I happy in this relationship over here with my friends? Am I happy with my partner? Am I happy with this? And then the life that you have always been living is now not the life that is the authentic life that you thought was the life you should be living, because you start asking yourself these questions. And if you are asking yourself these questions, that is your higher self going, we are trying to help you. But our conditioning will always hold us back unless we're aware of it. So everybody has the ability to manifest. I don't come from privilege. My dad came to this country with no money. I was bullied for the house I grew up in. And I know what it's like to do the hard yards. I was working at the Silver Dolphin restaurant at 13, and I probably shouldn't announce that. And Lim's Kitchen, washing dishes, scrubbing floors.
Lim's Kitchen. So good.
Washing dishes, scrubbing floors, cleaning toilets, vacuuming. I know what it's like to do the hard yards and not have any money. But I also know how to flip that script and use my energy to be able to attract the things in my life that I want. And I don't compete with anybody. That's another lesson that I find a lot of people do. They come from a space of scarcity.
But coming from a true abundance mindset, you don't need to worry about that, the competitiveness or the scarcity. Yeah. So tell us about TransformU.
TransformU, I do 3 meditations a day.
Yeah.
And I have to regulate my nervous system and to be aware of the work that I do is so energetically a lot that I have to make sure that I fill my own cup up. And part of that is doing meditations so I can always be operating from a high frequency, because there is a difference between a low frequency and a high frequency. Low frequency, not being authentic, coming from a space of fear, coming from a space of unhappiness and not living to your true infinite potential, right? And high frequency is operating from a space that what I see in you is what I see in myself. If I looked at you in a certain way, then I would see that in myself. And I am not looking at anyone as poor, sad, not abundant, not in perfect health, because then I would be energy exchanging that energy of you back onto me. So I'm very aware of energy like that. So TransformU, did a meditation like every other time that I've created anything, including manifested all the TV shows I've been on. I was sitting there, and every 3 months I do a cleanup. What that means is I'll say, universe, bring me the people that are meant to stay in my life, and the ones that are not, take them away. And it always, people are taken away or they come forward. And so I was doing my meditation, and I said to the universe, I'm ready for my next step outside of my psychic medium readings and TV, but something that is the next natural progression that will elevate me to help other people, right? Yeah. And that's what I believe true manifestation and abundance is, that I don't look at what I've created. I'll look at me, check out what I have. It's more about the fact that, can I serve somebody else with what I have? So if I, manifesting a house over here on a beach, I want to make sure that all my friends and family can come and feel like it's their home too, right? To add that happiness. So with TransformU, I said, okay, what is it? What is the next thing? And in that moment, I saw a vision of me. I even heard it transforming people's lives. And it started with retreats. I saw the image of it, and coaching and mentoring and showing people the exact tools that I learnt myself to create the life that I have. But I've never spoken about that publicly, as in what I've attracted, because I'm not here to go look at me. I'm just here to try and help that person. So I made a phone call to Ben. He was in Sydney in the music studio, and he answered. And I said, this is what I have to do. And I went 100 miles an hour. Bah, 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 bah. He goes, do you know how hard that is? I said, well, I can do that in a few months. So unbeknown to Ben, like this, our synchronicities happen, and the universe responds to that. So your name actually came out in the picture. So Ben had his tour manager for Silverchair that knew of this woman, and he made that phone call that day, and he goes, I've got the right person that can that can help you along with your coaching courses and just like with the branding and whatnot. And so with that, it was like a snowball effect, and I had that up and running within 3 months. Even some of my beautiful friends that have created some massive businesses in Australia, massive businesses, were all saying, no, it's going to take you a year, 2 years. I go, that's your reality. That's not my reality, because your thoughts create your experiences.
Absolutely. And it was wonderful to see you birth TransformU, because Ben had actually given me a call about that and was asking if I knew anybody.
Yeah.
Yes, I knew Marissa.
Yeah,
yes.
Marissa.
Yes. And so it was really wonderful to see you birth that. It's actually on my radar. A girlfriend and I have been like, we're going to come to one of Jackie's retreats. It looks like fun. It looks beautiful.
Do you know what it is? My retreats, what I do is, and TransformU, the retreats was really interesting because I want my retreats to be like what happens when I go on a trip away with the Real Housewives, where you don't have to think about anything. So basically you're resetting, you're going into a luxury, but you have the space. You're holding the space to be able to be intentional about whatever it is that you need to shift within your own life. So not only are you getting the luxury of the hotel and everything provided for you, all you need to worry about is what you're wearing, and everything else is provided for. So I take you on a healing journey, and we go to the Pyramids of Chi. That is a place that I've been going to for years, and it offers the space to do a lot of vibration work, and also coming into a community that wants to see everybody win. That's what life's about. Yeah. That's what I have always surrounded myself with after doing the inner work. And inner work's every single day. It's not like it's ended. Yeah. You got to keep doing it. And so that's why I created it, and I trusted my aligned action. Yeah. Like when you were receiving those messages, you trusted to go and tell your friend the message. Yeah. But it's almost like the universe was making you be guided to that person to go, yes, you've been praying for somebody to help you and show you that you need to leave this abusive relationship, and you came in. Yeah. And she told you. Yeah. You were the messenger for her in that moment.
I'm going to be more open to that and to try
It's time.
Yeah.
It's time.
Absolutely.
You're bringing so much love to people's lives through this, through all the things that you do for Got Your Back Sister. You are bringing so much healing into people's lives, and the universe wants to show you that you are on the right path, and you have to keep going on this path because you're bringing so much peace into people's lives. And I believe that if you hadn't have started Got Your Back Sister and all the women that you've helped, this is what this is about. This is what life is about. When you drop off, you got to make me cry. When you drop off, you want to go, because this is the biggest thing I hear from so many people that have passed away is, did I live my life for me, or did I live my life for somebody else? Yeah. Right? And when you're intentional and you're coming from purpose and you're living in purpose and authenticity, then you are doing the work that you're meant to be doing. And you are doing that. You've saved people's lives, Mel. So that's the universe. And see what you're doing right now. You can't accept, you cannot accept compliments.
Well,
you've got to say yes.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
But I will say, and I love this about you as well, because when I met you for the first time, it was actually at the Supercars event. They did a charity auction there for Got Your Back Sister, and I was speaking to the crowd, which is very noisy and a lot of men, a lot of super loud cars going past. But I remember out of my periphery, I could see a woman standing there while I was talking, nodding profusely while I was talking. And then you came up later on and you had your beautiful sister with you, and you came up and you said to me, you're meant to be doing this. I was really touched, because sometimes I guess validation should come from within, but it's actually nice for somebody, especially when they're Australia's most renowned psychic medium, you often go, you're on the right path. You're like, oh.
Well, you are. You've changed so many lives. Every time your name comes up anywhere, people look at you and talk so highly of everything. You have created a legacy that will keep going and going and going.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
Well, you have.
But I wanted to thank you, because you've given me those little glimmers, those little moments, which are really beautiful and very encouraging.
Thank you.
So, and I know that you've done that through your readings with me as well that I've had with you. So thank you. Now, with TransformU, what are some of the transformations that you see happen?
Oh my God. Like
with the women in your course and on retreat.
So even men now. The biggest transformation I keep seeing over and over is that when I see, it's kind of like a wounded bird, right? Say you got a wounded feather, you heal, you nurture, you be consistent with that love that you give yourself or that bird. I'm seeing that with women that come in feeling wounded, and then they come into the expression of who they are, where they go, you know what? This is what I need for me. And if I hadn't have done this program, I wouldn't be what I'm meant to be. Right? And so when I see that, it makes my heart, it keeps me going and doing what I'm doing. Because if you can inspire one person in your life, then you're doing your job. And so when I say transformation, it's including when they step into their power and they say no to things that don't serve them. Like an abusive relationship, like being able to forgive a situation in their life that has bothered them or given them a breakdown or whatever that may be, and have forgiven themselves for blaming themselves. Why did this happen when it wasn't their fault? It's the transformation. I can't even articulate it into words. It's just a feeling and a knowing that I've got to keep going.
Yeah.
On a bigger scale.
You know, a lot of women that I have met over the years, especially through Got You Back Sister, can be really quite stuck where they're at in whatever that is, and that they have dreams of things that they want for their life, or they see that actually, I feel like my purpose is this way, but for whatever reason, something is holding them back. And I'm guessing from what you're saying, it sounds as though that the transformation, the course and the workshops and the retreats actually can help women get through that, to actually get out of that stuckness.
Because what I show and embody is when you, again, take accountability, and this is another thing that people are very not so great at doing, self-care, self-love, right? But also setting healthy boundaries. That's a big one.
Yep.
And protecting your energy and saying no to things that don't serve you, whether it's with a family member or a partner or work or however that looks. And it's not about being adversarial. It's about learning to say no to things that make you feel like that is not the right thing for you to do. Because how many times have we all said yes to shit we don't want to be doing? Like, I mean, I used to, but now I'm like, girl, bye, I'm not doing it. And they're like, why? Even if you're, because that doesn't serve my energy. It doesn't feel right with where my intuition wants to go. Yeah. So with anybody that's feeling stuck, whether you take my course or not, the one thing that I can say is that if you're going to take my course, you better be prepared that you're going to dive deep. I'm just going to skirting over some of the modules that we talk about, like forgiveness and self-love and intuition and setting healthy boundaries and how to step into your purpose. And it's even more than that. But it's like, do not come unless you want to take accountability for your life, because I'm going to be the person that's going to make you take accountability. Because the thing that holds us back is what I've seen mostly, even with my own life and people I've coached and mentored, is that it's our conditioning and what's been programmed into our mind. And as we know, by the time we hit 7 years of age, our programming has already then become what will be as an adult. So it's really interesting to see how our conditioning and our environment navigates where we go. So taking accountability for your environment, who you let in your life. A lot of people know this about me, is that I don't allow people in my life unless they're operating from that authenticity or that purpose of truth. And sometimes it can be hard being a psychic medium knowing somebody doesn't tell the truth. But I cannot judge because they haven't allowed me in. Telling the truth, man, you know? Yeah. One of the reasons I was I know that I was asked to do the Housewives because, you know, I keep it 100 and sometimes people don't like what I say. And the one thing that I like to encourage is that you shouldn't shy away from who you are. You're going to have people that like you and you're going to have people that don't like you. And the ones that don't like you are repelled by your energy and who you are.
It's really interesting you say that, because that has been a life lesson for me over the last 10 years, because it's coming up to 10 years since I actually founded Got You Back Sister. And so I have had a number of people that have actually been quite nasty.
I can see that. And I can see that. I think I even said that to you once.
Yeah. And each time it's really shocked me because I have felt blindsided. And then I've gone into therapy to try and
work it out.
And within myself, because you can't control other people.
No, right? You can't.
All you can do is control yourself. But that's been a life lesson for me, is actually to be okay with that and actually go, that person was not my person.
And I think what's hard about that, I know that when I was going through that, and I will still at times go through that because I'm still evolving. Just because I do the work doesn't mean I don't experience everything that I experience, but it's about being consciously aware. Now, if somebody acts that way towards you, it's because there's something in you that they wish they could do themselves, or there's a version of you that they wish that they could be. People don't like hearing that, but that's fundamentally, so like if you go and speak to a psychologist, a good psychologist will be able to tell you that it's never about you. It's actually about them. And what they're doing is projecting what they see in you that they wish they could do for themselves. So the nastiness isn't about you. It may be the fact that they wish they had started a business like you. They wish they lived in a beautiful place like Merriweather near the beach. They wish they had a beautiful relationship. They wish they had friends that love them unconditionally. So it's never about you. It is about them. And that's how you've got to look at it. And the reaction, that's true too. But I am Croatian. I do have a bit of passion.
I love it.
So I was sort of reel that in because sometimes I would have that personality type where I would just be like, you're dogging someone out. You're not being truthful. You're not being authentic. Like, stop that. But then I also know that maybe, not just maybe, I know this, that the universe is giving this to me to see how far I've actually elevated to not allow that energy to come towards me. And the more you are coming from a high frequency, the more you're magnetizing the right people and you start repelling the people that aren't supposed to be in your life. So you repelling the people being nasty is the universe's way of saying goodbye, shine off.
And it's really interesting as well because I will say probably once upon a time, the people pleaser in me, which I know a lot of women can resonate with because a lot of women can be people pleasers as well. So we can be a bit like, oh, yeah, this person wants to be my friend and that person wants to be my friend. And, so you're like, and then it's really be a little bit discerning and go, who are the really good-hearted souls there that really have your back? I've come to really appreciate that, and it's probably only a few people that really genuinely.
That's how it rolls.
Back, yeah.
But the other thing with that, okay, you know how you said you're feeling energy of people and souls and what have you, messages. Your body will feel when somebody's being authentic and when they're not. Energy doesn't lie. Even if you don't want to believe what that person's saying, you know in your soul that it is true. But what we do know is that energy will hit the body before it hits the brain. Yep. So when you walk into an event, I'll give an example so people can hear this. Something in you is like, I really don't want to go to this event because I feel A, B, C, D, and E. It's not all the time, but I'm just saying like most of the time that feeling that you're getting about a situation usually will be true unless you're coming from a fear-based anxiety state. And I'm talking about something else here. It could be you've had an argument with a mother-in-law and you know that she hasn't forgiven you about something that you didn't agree on. Walking into this event, it's not going to feel great. You know it. But then your partner's like, don't be so ridiculous. That's not true. And it's like, no, it is. And the reason that women are a bit more aware, because men are still very psychic too. They're just good at being able to go yes or no much quicker than women. And that's been studied in research. Yeah. But coming back to the vibration thing, your gut feeling will feel something before it hits the brain.
Yeah. And we've all had those moments, right? But it's like, did we listen to it or not? Yeah. Oh, Jackie, all the wisdoms. I love it.
I think the biggest thing we all need to understand within ourselves is that if somebody had said to me, what is one thing that you wished you had changed earlier? I don't think you can change something earlier. Is not allowing myself to do things for other people out of guilt, setting boundaries, and making sure that I understand that being truly who I am is okay. And it really does stem from that relationship that I don't need anybody's approval. The only approval I need is from myself. Yeah. As long as I'm intentional and doing everything with the right intent and not being malicious.
Do you know, absolutely. And again, that has been, for me, one of the real life lesson. And maybe all those experiences, not that there's been heaps, there's been like 4.
Yeah, but you know those experiences are good because you can't elevate whilst you still have that same frequency of people in your life.
Oh, my friend. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for coming and sharing your wisdoms with us. Can I just ask you one more question?
You can ask me anything.
Have you had any scary, spooky psychic experiences?
Yeah. When I first came into my purpose of doing psychic medium readings, there's quite a few actually, but the one that stands out, it was low frequency energies. And I was learning how to differentiate true guidance to false guidance and learning what high frequency is and what low frequency is, and basically low energy, high energy. And I was laying in my bed, and one night I was saying my prayers, like my protection and gratitude and giving thanks and sending love out to the world and all those things that I do in the morning and at night before I go to bed. And by the way, that's the most impressionable time for anybody that's wanting to manifest. You make sure that you visualize the thing that you're calling in at night, because your subconscious mind is the most programmable at that time, and when you're waking up out of your dream state, because you don't have all the faff of life, right? And anywho, I was laying there and I end up nodding off. And then all of a sudden, I feel an energy on top of me, but it was like holding me down. And my eyes were open at this point. And I could see your eyes like, well, you know, what's she going to say next? And the next minute, I saw like about 8 lower energies, and they had like cloaks on, spitting around my bed.
Wow.
It's like coming around my bed, but they were speaking in another language, and I couldn't even understand what the language was. But I remember laying there. This is after I saw the angel. That was after I got rid of, like, completely removed myself from that relationship.
Yeah.
I was still doing the inner work, but I felt like this energy didn't want me.
They were trying to hold you down, trying to scare you and bring out the fear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so as my eyes were open and I was being held down, I started Croatian, started saying my prayers, like I went old school Croatian prayers. And then as it's still holding me down, I'm seeing around my bed scooting around. They just like dark energies. And I was just saying my prayers, and then I was talking to Archangel Michael and Jesus, and I called all the saints in. And at that moment, as I was telling this spirit to fuck off after my prayers, it was still holding me down. And then all of a sudden I went to raise my hand, and then it just all disappeared. And it was then in that moment I just saw all of this pink dust. It was like it transmuted into love.
Yeah.
This darkness transmuted into love. And what little goosebumps just got there, and I can feel the energy of it. It was almost like, when I look back on that, and I've been writing so many journals for years and years and years about all these different experiences that I've had. It was almost like I had to remove all the negativity out of my life to rise up. That's what that was. It was the lower energies keeping me down, the relationship that wasn't serving me, the friends that didn't do the right thing by me, you know, the association with, you know, going out too much, and the association with not being truthful to who I am as going into the light of being helping and listening to my intuition. Yeah. So it was really that was a really wigged out moment. There's been quite a few, but that was a big one. And that was a big one.
Yeah. Jackie, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on Hey Soul Sista again.
Thanks for having me. And keep inspiring.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you.
No, you are. You're just doing so much. There's so much love that you're doing with this work, and you need to. I know every time I say this, it's like you just step up, girl, and accept it, because you have such a beautiful energy about you, and really, this is your purpose. It really is.
Well, I really feel called to do it. I have really felt called to do the podcast again. Yeah.
You're going to write a book too.
You have said that to me before, and I've actually been starting to think about that. Yeah.
It's time.
Yeah. Now, how can people, 1, book a psychic reading with you, and 2, sign up or find out more about TransformU?
So this is how it works. People subscribe to my mailing list, and I got rid of the waiting list. But what happens is, I'm intentional. I'll say, okay, I might wake up in the middle of the night and say to my team, I'm going to do readings. I'm going to open some readings up. And so everybody that's subscribed, an email will go out, and first in, best dressed. And I go, whoever's meant to get it will get it. So it's exojackie.com. And you can follow my channels. You know, you can follow me that way. But exojackie.com.
And I will put them in the show notes as well. So people can click on the link. If you're listening, just go to the show notes and you can find the link there.
Love you, Mel. I appreciate you. And thank you so much for giving me the space to chat.